How's it going, everybody? Pete here at Spawn Fly Fish, and before we get too far, if you could go ahead and just hit like and subscribe, we would really appreciate it. So for the fly today, I want to tie a Midge Emerger, and for that I've got the Core 1150 size 14, and the reason I'm using this Core 1150, I do want this fly to sit in the film, so I've got a slightly heavier hook than normal for a dry fly, but not so heavy that it's going to drag it down. It's going to sit right in that film, which is right where we want this guy. So for the thread, got some 14-aught shear, and this is black. And go ahead and trim that tag end out, and we are ready to rock. Excuse me. So for our first element, this will be our rib, if you will, or a breaking body. So this is just a Peacock curl, and I've erased all the fibers off of it, and so we're just going to be using the quill. And for this, I want to tie the prettier side, the good looking side, facing the hook for right now. I want that against the shank so that as we wrap this, then the pretty side will be showing for the fish to view. And that's kind of what we're doing this for anyway. So there we go, get it tied in on that bend slightly, and again trim out that tag end like so. So for the underbody, we've got some Veevus pearl tinsel, size large. I'm going to tie this in so that it's facing over the hook eye, and the reason being I'm going to wrap it down and then back up, so I really get full coverage of that underbody. I get a lot of bling showing, which is very important, because if you've seen these things, when they're about ready to hatch, they've gathered up all these gases inside of that exoskeleton, and that's what pushes that exoskeleton off, or breaks it, if you will, and then they can escape. And so that's what we're trying to emulate, is that very shiny underbody. And now to get rid of this thread, let's just get it in front of the tinsel like so. Nothing crazy so far, just a touch of some super glue gel on those thread wraps. And so what will happen is we're going to wrap this flash back, squishes out some of that glue, and then as we wrap back toward the eye, it catches, makes for a stronger underbody, which I'm always a fan of. Alright, so get that flat, and let's start wrapping this back. And I'm using overlapping wraps, which simply means roughly half of each wrap will be covered by the next wrap. And let's work this carefully around that hook point all the way back to where we tied in our peacock quill. And once we've gotten to that spot, simply reverse that and start wrapping forward. And now we've got a really well covered body that is going to be bright and shiny for all the fish to see. Because if they can't see it, well, they're not going to come eat it. So we'll make it easy for them. There we go, right behind the eye. Get a couple thread wraps here to trap that tinsel. And forgive my fingers there for a second. And once you've got it caught, go ahead and wrap it back over itself like so. Now we really ensure that that's not coming undone at any point. Trim it out, and now we're ready for that quill rib. And this is the area that our thorax is going to be, so you don't have to worry about getting it super clean right in there. Alright, so now we're looking for evenly spaced wraps. 4 to 5, maybe 6, depending on what size you ended up going with, because you sure as heck don't have to follow exactly what I do and tie it in the exact same size. Maybe for the first couple just to see if you like it, but then after that, make it your own and tie it for what you're fishing for and what the fish in your waters are eating. Alright, now I'm going to turn this guy and continue wrapping evenly spaced wraps, and I'm just taking my time. Nothing crazy here. There's no reward that I've seen for being done first with your fly, so There we go. Tie that quill off like so. And we've got a very nice segmented body look, but more importantly, we're mimicking that breaking out portion of a midge becoming an adult. There we go. So now at this point, we can run just a very quick coat of some Loon UV clear fly finish, or what you commonly call a resin, all around the flash and the quill. And once we've got a very thin coat of that, go ahead and cure it with our torch. And then that's just going to give us a little bit extra strength on that body, which I'm always a fan. A couple extra fish per fly, more time fishing, less time playing in the fly box, and that's a good thing on the water. Alright, so that's pretty set, and we're ready to continue. So now for the next step. If you listen, that's a hair stacker, and I do have some natural mule deer from Nature Spirit in here I've got stacked. And as far as how much hair, it's not much. I'll show you, maybe half of a pencil width thickness, something like that. Just line the ends up, and we're going to tie the ends coming out over the hook eye. And as far as how long I want these, I want it to roughly match pretty close to the length of the body of the fly. And then what I'm going to do is bring my thread up here right behind the eye, and once you've picked your spot, hold that pinch nice and tight in your off tying hand, and then let's get this guy started right here. And all we're going to do is keep working our thread back, one wrap at a time, all the way, all the way, all the way, until we've created a nice little space there. And then really keep those tips of the hair going out over the eye, and then the rest of it will just be sitting on top, coming out over the back. And we're just going to leave them there for now. Don't trim those butts just yet. Alright, so we're going to create a nice little gap here where the thorax typically would be. This is where you'd have some peacock curl or some dubbing of whatever. But for today, we got to remember, this is an emerging bug. So we have all kinds of body parts coming out, legs, wings, you name it. So here's what will be the wing. So now we just need to emulate the rest of the body parts, namely legs. And this not only is going to copy the legs, but it's going to help float this thing right in the surface. So here we've got a saddle hackle, Grizzly. I've peeled the fibers off the right side, if you will. And I'm going to tie this in right where the butts of that mule deer are, and all the way back there, nice and easy. And then come with some more pressure on the way back up. Turn this, trim out the tag end of that little feather. And you could absolutely use a dry fly feather. You could use brown, whatever, black, whatever you want to use. Don't feel like you have to copy exactly what I've got rocking here. Got one hair, but we did manage to get that butt end of that feather. There we go. So now we've got that tied in very carefully. Bring that feather up and start working in some wraps here. Be mindful of that hook point. And touching wraps. We're really just gonna work this through here and get as many wraps as we can in that little platform that we built. And not only does it look pretty, it's effective and has a purpose, which can't be beat. Alright, so that's about as much as I want right there. I'm going to tie this feather off, and again, take your time and try to not trap a bunch of the other fibers if you can. And then it's just a matter of tying down, stay right behind that deer hair if possible. So let me bump the camera because that's always good. And now get that out of the way. Just wanting to fight me just a touch right there. There we go. Alright, so now I can remove my hackle. Again, be careful. Try not to do too much damage as far as cutting out excess hairs if you can. And now I'm going to take one more securing wrap, and I'm going to bring all these wing hairs up and get in front here. And now I'm going to build a little thread dam. And this thread dam is going to help me prop that wing, and so I can position it a little bit better right before I'm ready to fish and everything. You see it's out of my way right now, and I'm going to use that to my advantage. Grab my whip finish tool, and let's finish this fly off while that's out of the way. And there we go. There's our whip finish. Let's trim our thread. And real quick, well, again, use this time to your advantage. All that hair is still pushed back. It's out of the way. Let's get a little bit of head cement, and for this one I'm using some Loon hardhead clear, and let's cover all those thread wraps underneath where we just formed that thread dam. Let it all get in there and soak in nice, like so. That's going to really be strong, and the fish are going to be very appreciative. So now, since we left those butts a little long, I can easily go in and discern what's wing material and what's not wing material. So again, I'm going to coax those fibers out over the front so that they look like the wing trying to pop out of the wing case and exoskeleton of our emerger. I'm going to get rid of that fiber. I don't like that one. And now, let's come back here, gather up all the butts, and straight across, boom, cut. So now what we have is a fly that the butt's going to sit down in the water. The rest of it will be in the film, and sticking out of the surface is going to be all these hairs. And so you have a visual. The fish definitely have a visual in that bright blingy underbody, and to them they just see hatching and distressing bug that is vulnerable and tasty. So I hope you guys had fun watching this one. Please tie along and try a couple of these. If you do, let us know how they came out. And as always, please be sure to hit like and subscribe, and we will see you on the water.